Wasn't the opportunity to make the Tao creator stronger a creator lord? The ninth chaos said, I'll wait for you to discover the dark forbidden lord's identity. With that, the dream shattered. Hanju opened his eyes. He naturally didn't care about the ninth chaos mission. However, he had to consider something. Did the ninth chaos treat the other Tao creators equally, or was it only instructing him? It would not be a good thing if it was the latter. That meant that the ninth chaos was testing him. Huh? Why am I thinking about this? I want to know if the ninth chaos really wants me to find the dark forbidden lord's true identity. 100 quadrillion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? Continue. Yes. That was good. Actually, he wasn't afraid of the ninth chaos. After all, he had the Tao field. He was just afraid of affecting the people he cared about. Hanju started to check his emails to divert his attention. Your son Han Huang has fused with the Supreme Rules and his dermic powers have transformed. Your disciple Tao Sovereign was attacked by a transcendent cultivator, X978211183. Your disciple. Your son Han Tuo was attacked by your good friend, the ultimate god of punishment. Your good friend Huang Zuntian was cursed by a mysterious curse. Your good friend Zhao Shuangchuan has obtained the inheritance of a mysterious mighty figure. His cultivation has increased greatly. Your younger brother Han Ming has entered the time vortex. Your good friend Azure Heaven Mystic was attacked by your descendant Han Yi and was severely injured. From the emails, Hanju's circle of friends. He would have to take a side and cause the other to accumulate grudges if he appeared. It was very difficult to resolve the grudges at once. But this was also quite interesting. Unknowingly, Hanju's mentality was also changing. He felt that the things he had worried about and valued were nothing because he was strong enough. It was very difficult to care about all the disciples, but he had to care about his children. Hanju didn't allow his children to have grudges against each other. But it would be fine if they were a few generations apart. After reading the emails, Hanju closed his eyes and rested. His mind wandered outside the world to travel the chaos and other great Tao worlds. The Book of Misfortune finally upgraded successfully 300,000 years later. Book of Misfortune upgraded from an ultimate Tao treasure to an ultimate supreme treasure. A notification appeared in Hanju's eyes. The Book of Misfortune also appeared. A terrifying black light burst out, causing the temperature in the Taoist temple to decrease to a freezing point. The cold aura made his soul. If even the Tao creator was like this, an ordinary great Tao sage would probably be instantly destroyed in body and soul. How terrifying! Hanju touched the Book of Misfortune and sighed. Baby, you were once so weak. I've finally nurtured you to this extent. Hanju caressed the Book of Misfortune for a while. After confirming that it wouldn't devour him, he put it away and didn't curse the ninth chaos for the time being. He would mess with him after some time. Hanju returned to the Taoist temple of the third Tao field. Shawnee was in the simulation trial. From his silly smile, he was probably torturing newbies again. This kid liked to fight those with weaker cultivation levels. The number of battles was very similar to Hanju's, one against many. Since Hanju had nothing to do, he also started the simulation trial. He challenged 50,000 immeasurable destruction venerables in one go. The immeasurable destruction venerable was Uptodate DFRM no VELB INCO worth power quadrillion years. He was stronger than the chaotic consciousness and the formless transcendent deity. However, Hanju was no longer the same as before. He seemed at ease fighting 50,000 immeasurable destruction venerables. After all, he was a minor realm higher than him. He continued to increase the number. His strength had been increasing for tens of millions of years even if he hadn't entered the simulation trial. In the end, he stopped at 200,000 immeasurable destruction venerables. He was already very satisfied with this. Upon opening his eyes and discovering that Shawnee was still in the simulation trial, he didn't disturb him and continued cultivating. Creation Emperor Court, Heavenly Hall. Hanling looked down at a black-robed youth. The youth kneeling on the ground appeared to be 15 or 16 years old. His face was very similar to hers. He was handsome and charming, but his eyes were inexplicably cold, like a venomous snake. You're formed by the ultimate origin cultivation potential. I'll name you Ultimate Origin, Hanling said. Hanling said, Ultimate Origin Fiend Celestial? Sure. You don't have to call me Mother. Call me Your Majesty. The Ultimate Origin Fiend Celestial frowned. Although unhappy, he still agreed. I'll personally teach you for 10,000. Can surpass all living beings in the chaos. Hanling frowned. Didn't you hear me clearly? The Ultimate Origin Fiend Celestial lowered his head. Hanling said, I created you. How could you transform if not for me? If other existences find you, they might directly refine you. I'll arrange everything for you, understand? Understood, the Ultimate Origin Fiend Celestial replied with a trembling voice. Hanling said, let me see how strong your innate strength is. Attack me. Try your best. I will bring you to wherever you want to go if you can hurt me. The Ultimate Origin Fiend Celestial looked up in surprise. Really? Really? Your Majesty, I'm very strong. You have to be careful. Come. The Ultimate Origin Fiend Celestial stood up. Wisps of red chi emitted from his body, causing a shadow to condense on his body. Hanling was stunned upon seeing the shadow. Indeed. Father, this is your power. After the Ultimate Origin Fiend Celestial condensed its Dharma idol, it suddenly attacked Hanling. The heavenly hall shook. Several breaths later, the Ultimate Origin Fiend Celestial lay on the ground in ragged clothes. It was surrounded by thousands of Emperor soldiers. In the sky, another Emperor soldier raised a divine weapon and pointed it at him. Disbelief appeared on his face and his body trembled. He had lost too quickly. How could this be? This power of yours is very strong, but you can't control it yet. Your cultivation and body are too weak. You still have to cultivate well. Don't disgrace this power. Hanling's voice floated over. The Ultimate Origin Fiend Celestial gritted his teeth, his eyes filled with unwillingness. At this moment, a voice sounded. Your Majesty, Divine Punisher Han Huang is here to visit. Do you want to see him? Somewhere. Hanling narrowed her eyes. Let him in. Don't be rude. 挤眉弄眼. The Ultimate Origin Fiend Celestial stood up. A strange expression flashed across his eyes when he heard Han Huang's name. He had been born for some time. Although he had never left the Creation Emperor Court, he had often heard Han Huang's name from other cultivators. First Sage of the Chaos. Eternal Peak. Strongest Divine Punisher. Many titles were attributed to Han Huang. His battle achievements had left his name in history forever. The Ultimate Origin Fiend Celestial was fascinated every time he heard of Han Huang's legends. How could he not be excited to see the person himself today? moon, a purple rainbow sped over. A person was riding the purple rainbow. His posture was domineering and the wind blew with every step. The purple armor condensed from primordial purple chi had a divine soul attached to it, like a chaotic fiend celestial. He followed closely behind. The ultimate origin fiend celestial looked at Han Huang, shocked by his domineering aura. He couldn't imagine that there was such an expert in the world. Just his aura alone was terrifying. The ultimate origin fiend celestial was stunned. Han Huang ignored the ultimate origin fiend celestial as he entered the hall. He looked at Han Ling and smiled. Fourth sister, I didn't expect you to have such a day. I'm still curious about who the emperor who can subdue the descendants of my Han family's geniuses is. Han Ling stood up and smiled. Second brother, you must be joking. You must have guessed it. Otherwise, with your temper, you would barge in forcefully. How could you wait patiently? Han Huang smiled and nodded. The more he looked at Han Ling, the more satisfied he was. He glanced at the ultimate origin fiend celestial and said, Fourth sister, let him down. Han Ling smiled. Second brother, don't you think he looks like someone? Han Huang looked surprised. The ultimate origin fiend celestial became nervous. I see. Then let him listen here. It can be. Considered broadening his horizons. Han Huang chuckled as his gaze landed on Han Ling again. Han Ling smiled. She was no longer as domineering as before. She had the bearing of a younger sister. Han Huang was very satisfied with her attitude. I've fused with the supreme rules of the chaos, Shirtian, transcendent, and consciousnessless great Tao worlds. My strength has already reached an unprecedented level. I use the four supreme rules to nurture a divine weapon. This divine weapon contains the power of the four supreme rules, but I still have other things to do. After thinking about it, among the siblings, you're the most powerful and have your own territory, so I want to give it to you. Divine weapon? Han Ling smiled helplessly. She had handed the ultimate origin fiend celestial to the evil heavenly emperor to nurture, and Han Huang had given her his divine weapon. What was going on? Han Ling smiled. Actually, the creation emperor court also has such a divine weapon. Han Huang was stunned. His gaze landed on the ultimate origin fiend celestial again and he said, Ultimate origin fiend celestial? What is ultimate origin? The ultimate origin fiend celestial immediately replied, Above the chaos and primordial chaos is the ultimate origin. Impossible! Han Huang shouted with a displeased expression. The primordial fiend celestial is the strongest fiend celestial and also has the strongest potential. Have you seen it before? The ultimate origin fiend celestial suddenly realized that Han Huang called himself the primordial fiend celestial, although all the primordial living beings did not believe him. He straightened his neck and said, Although I've never seen him, that must be the case. Hee, is that so? Han Huang said coldly. A terrifying aura erupted, pressing the ultimate origin fiend celestial to the ground. The ultimate origin fiend celestial looked at him in disbelief. How powerful! He was not inferior to Her Majesty. Impossible! Was this the primordial fiend celestial? Second brother, he's equivalent to my child. Why bully a junior? Han Ling's voice floated over gently. Han Huang's vast aura instantly vanished. Han Huang looked at her in surprise. Although he didn't use his full strength or was serious, he did not expect Han Ling to break through his aura so easily. Amazing! It seemed that he had really underestimated his younger sister. She could be where she was today not only because of Han Yi, Han Yao, and Han Bahen, the three peerless geniuses of the Han family. But this made sense. longest. Now that she was out wandering, she definitely had unparalleled strength. Thinking of this, Han Huang's eyes burst with fighting spirit. He suddenly wanted to challenge her. Han Ling understood what he meant, but she was not nervous or angry. She just smiled. Han Ling smiled and said, "Since second brother wants to give me a divine weapon, I'll naturally accept it." Han Huang smiled and said, "Thank you, fourth sister." Since Han Ling had agreed, as her second brother, Han Huang naturally couldn't make things difficult for her. "How about we spar in the simulation trial? When you're free in the future?" Han Huang asked with a smile. Han Ling also smiled and nodded. Han Huang waved his hand, and a black spear surrounded by a purple aura descended from the sky. It pierced through the ground of the heavenly hall. The spear shaft shook violently and emitted a buzzing sound that left the ultimate origin fiend Celestial trembling. What kind of divine weapon was this? How terrifying! The ultimate origin fiend Celestial was shocked. Han Huang had broken his understanding again. Han Ling's gaze landed on the black spear. This spear was 1,000 feet long, and the spearhead occupied a third of it. It was like two qilin coiling around it. The blade was cold and sharp and was covered in 7-colored divine patterns formed by the supreme rules. Han Ling could sense that this spear contained powerful vitality and intelligence. This spear was extraordinary. Han Ling waved her hand and grabbed the black spear. Violent purple chi erupted and the spear shaft trembled, wanting to break free from her hold. However, her eyes narrowed and she forcefully suppressed it. Amazing! Han Huang sighed secretly. He knew how. Could it be that Han Ling already had the power to match him? Impossible! His potential was unparalleled and he had so many opportunities. How could he be inferior to Han Ling? However, Han Huang's eyes were a little old man and spar. Han Huang thought. The moment he left, the oppressive atmosphere in the hall instantly vanished. The ultimate origin fiend Celestial looked at the primordial divine spear with burning eyes. Han Ling smiled and asked, "Do you want it?" The ultimate origin fiend Celestial nodded desperately. "In your dreams. Get lost." Han Ling snorted softly. The ultimate origin fiend Celestial was embarrassed and had no choice but to leave. Han Ling looked at the primordial divine spear and began to consider who to give it to. Han Yi had the world-piercing divine origin, Bao given to him by her father. It was not inferior to the primordial divine spear. Give it to Han Yao? Then what should Han Bahan get? As for Han Ling was actually a little vexed. The ultimate origin fiend Celestial, she definitely could not give it to him. This child had ulterior motives. She had nurtured him only to make use of him and would not really treat him like her own son. The primordial divine spear trembled as if begging her to release it. 挤眉弄眼. 5 million years passed quickly. Han Chu opened his eyes and habitually sensed his cultivation. He was satisfied with his growth. Then, he sent a voice transmission to Han Huang outside the Taoist temple. His second son had returned hundreds of thousands of years ago and wanted to visit him, but Hanju was in seclusion, so he could only wait outside. Hanju was very satisfied with this. Although this kid was powerful, he was not arrogant. He still had to be polite to him. Han Huang quickly entered the temple and bowed to Hanju, also waking up the Shawnee cultivating at the side. Han Huang also noticed Shawnee. He was secretly curious. Had his father nurtured another seedling? However, this cultivation and aura were too weak. There was also that gaze. He actually felt afraid when he saw him. He was afraid before the battle and did not have the heart of an expert. Hanju smiled and said, Huang how many years has it been since you returned? Almost 100 million years, right? I thought you had already forgotten your parents. Oh? How? Hanju asked with a faint smile. How could he not see Han Huang's suppressed fighting spirit? Brat, you actually want to challenge me. Be careful not to break your Dao heart. Han Huang's eyes burned. Why don't you teach me a lesson in the simulation trial? Hanju laughed. Ever since he sparred with Hanju, he couldn't have such thoughts anymore. He felt that Hanju was the strongest existence. His eyes narrowed. The two of them immediately entered the simulation trial. In the simulation trial, in the void, the father and son were 1,000 feet apart. Such a distance was like a step for those with their cultivation levels. Han Huang looked at his father and his blood boiled. Father, do you know how long I've been looking forward to this? Although I'm invincible in the chaos, I always know that. You're stronger. You're the peak I want to reach. The ultimate god of punishment is not my match. Those within Shetian, transcendent, and consciousness are all existences that can't match me. Now, it's time for me to challenge you. I'm not betraying you. I just want to pursue the strongest. Han Huang said with a burning gaze. The primordial purple chi erupted from his body like a pillar of flames. The four supreme rules of chaos: consciousnessless, transcendent, and Shetian, formed four purple dragons that wrapped around his body. The dragon scales were actually the scales of the great Tao. Hanju smiled. Han Huang immediately attacked. He slapped out with his palms and the violent divine might great heaven palm struck out, colliding with Hanju with unstoppable force. However, the supreme treasure on Hanju's body emitted a strong light and easily blocked it. Han Huang's expression changed as he continued attacking. However, no matter what mystical power he used, what method he used, or where he attacked, he couldn't hurt Hanju. How can this be? Han Huang had imagined countless situations. When he fought with his father, he had thought that he would lose, but he did not expect that he couldn't even break through the defense of his father's Dharma treasure. Impossible! Where did the four great Tao worlds get such a powerful defensive supreme treasure? It was simply unheard of. Han Huang gritted his teeth and said in a low voice, Father, you really surprised me. In that case, I'll get serious. Boom! He began to mobilize the ultimate origin power. Hanju clearly felt the ultimate origin power in his body being extracted. Although it was very weak, this feeling was extremely strange, because the person who borrowed his strength was right in front of him. In that case, I'll let you experience unprecedented power. Hanju began to relax. Endless ultimate origin power erupted from Han Huang's body, surprising and shocking him. This is... Han Huang was overjoyed. Could it be that his father had given him too much pressure, causing him to surpass his limits? Sensing an unprecedented vast power, an arrogant and conceited expression appeared on his face again. He looked down at Hanju and laughed. Father, do you feel it? This is my strength. It's what I've obtained in the past 100 million years. If I cultivate diligently like you, I'm afraid it'll be difficult for me to reach it. The primordial. Looking at his ecstatic son, Hanju smiled and said, the primordial fiend celestial is indeed stronger than the chaotic fiend celestial. be it potential or strength. The ultimate origin power within him was still increasing. Han Huang was obsessed with this extreme strength. He smiled and said, "Father, you've finally admitted it. Then, do you think I've already surpassed you?" Hanju asked with a strange expression, "Do you really think a chaotic fiend celestial can give birth to a primordial fiend celestial?" Moved, Han Huang asked in surprise, "You?" Hanju's expression became extremely terrifying. He said coldly, "Huanga, today, I'll let you experience the true power above the great Tao Supreme Realm. I won't show mercy. I hope that your Tao heart can stabilize. This is your path to the strongest." An ultimate origin heaven seal appeared above. Han Huang looked up. His divine sense expanded infinitely, but he couldn't keep up with the speed at which the ultimate origin heaven seal expanded. Soon, he felt that the ultimate origin heaven seal had already exceeded the size of the chaos and was still expanding, as if it was splitting the entire simulation trial space into two. Han Huang looked incredulous. What kind of power was this? Boom! The ultimate origin heaven seal descended. With a terrifying might, Han Huang instinctively wanted to dodge, but he discovered that he couldn't jump out of the ultimate origin heaven seal. He could only move repeatedly under it. Why is this? It's impossible for it to be infinitely big. It's impossible for it to have no end. Could it be the rules of space? If it's the space rule, what kind of rule is it? The supreme rule? He had never been forced into such a situation. The opponent's strength made him despair. Defeat was right in front of him. At this moment, the ultimate origin power in Han Huang's body increased again. This time, the ultimate origin power was too powerful, causing his body to tear apart and emit wisps of red light. His soul was about to jump out. A power that even the primordial fiend celestial can't withstand. I don't believe I can't break through the seal. Han Huang's expression turned sinister. He roared angrily and punched upwards. The ultimate origin power carried the four purple dragons formed by the supreme rules and soared into the sky. It was peerlessly powerful, as if it could even penetrate time and chaos, causing time to reverse and turn immortality into ashes. Boom! This strike collided with the endless ultimate origin heaven seal, but it looked so pale, powerless, and tiny. Under Han Huang's despairing expression, his mysterious power was crushed by the ultimate origin heaven seal and vanished. No! Han Huang roared angrily as the ultimate origin heaven seal landed. He suddenly woke up and saw Hanju and Shani. The simulation ended. He had lost. He was utterly defeated. He gasped. The ultimate origin heaven seal was still vivid in his mind, making him shiver. His eyes were bloodshot and his hands were trembling. Shani looked at this ancestor sympathetically and thought to himself, he's still too young. Logically speaking, that shouldn't be the case. This ancestor should know how powerful the progenitor is better than me. He couldn't tell Han Huang that he was the ultimate origin fiend celestial. Even if he could trust Han Huang, he couldn't guarantee that the ninth chaos could read his memories. He had to be careful before attaining absolute invincibility. Hanju gestured for Shani to leave. The latter bowed respectfully and then left the Daoist temple. As soon as he went out, he was surrounded by Xing Hongshen, Qing Waner, and the other disciples, asking about the situation inside. Shani didn't hide anything. No one was surprised to know that Han Huang had suffered a crushing defeat when he challenged Hanju. Hanju was invincible. No matter how strong Han Huang's potential was, how could he surpass his father? Qing Waner shook her head. Sister, don't do this. Leave the matters between father and son to them. Huang is already on his own and has his own reputation and thoughts. Let's not interfere. Xing Hongshen sighed. He's been gone for almost 100 million years. It's really long. We cultivate every day and don't feel anything, but to him, too many experiences are enough to change him. She had experienced many troubles when she was young and knew that experience could change a person's temperament. Qing Waner smiled. Don't worry too much. Husband definitely has a plan. His gaze can see through the entire chaos. Perhaps all the changes in Huang are in his eyes. Xing Hongshen smiled and nodded in agreement. In any case, she couldn't control Han Huang. Thus, she would leave it to Hanju. Inside the Taoist temple, Han Huang finally came back to his senses. He knelt in front of Hanju and asked carefully, "Father, what did you mean earlier? Are you also a primordial fiend celestial?" Hanju smiled. The chaos can only. Han Huang was moved and asked with a trembling voice, "Then you?" "That's right. I gave you the primordial fiend celestial bloodline and exchanged it for the chaotic fiend celestial bloodline." Hanju stared at him and said seriously. Han Huang's heart was filled with regret. He didn't expect that he still wanted to fight his father after he did so much for him. If it were him, could he pass his bloodline to his son? Han Huang asked himself and felt that he couldn't do it. Aspect. "Father, I..." Han Huang's eyes turned red. He had all sorts of words in his heart but couldn't say them. Hanju said meaningfully, "Huang, you're already very strong. What you have to do is settle down. Do you really think you're the strongest in the chaos? Other than me, many existences surpass you by a major realm. However, not only are their cultivation realms high, but they no longer care about fame and fortune. That's why they gave you a chance to be invincible. What you can see is always the surface." Han Huang was even more ashamed. He should indeed settle down and not publicize his strength everywhere after gaining the 4 supreme rules. Excessive publicity made him feel inferior. Han Huang's eyes became firm after thinking it through. "Father, I want to create the primordial chaos, but my instincts tell me there will definitely be great danger," Han Huang said respectfully. Hanju said, "Then go to the blank domain. With your cultivation level, you're strong enough to survive there. However, you'll be attracted by the chaos to merge once you open the primordial chaos. You'll either be devoured by the chaos or suffer a backlash. From the looks of it, the chaos is more likely to devour other great Tao worlds." Han Huang frowned. "Father, what should I?" "Endless era. I've heard the ultimate god of punishment mention that he needs me to stir up the great Tao immeasurable calamity, but how should I do it? I can't slaughter all living beings, right? Although I'm strong, I'm not stupid. I'll definitely die if I do that." Han Huang frowned even more. Hanju said, "Then wait a little longer. There's still some time before the great Tao immeasurable calamity. You should relax and fight less. Give the others a chance. The other geniuses will help you split the hatred when the calamity arrives." Han Huang felt that it made sense and nodded. Then, he told him about the mysterious power he had inexplicably obtained. Hanju smiled and didn't say anything. Han Huang widened his eyes and asked carefully, "Father, could it be, there's no need to say anything? This is between you and me. Otherwise, it won't be easy to answer to your other siblings and will attract unnecessary trouble." Han Huang relaxed after some thinking. This was also good. If that power came from Hanju instructed, "Huang, I've given you the greatest favor. Although you're not the eldest son, you should shoulder the most responsibility. You can't stand by and watch if your siblings get in trouble in the future, understand? Han Huang nodded solemnly. Father, don't worry. I won't let you down. The father and son chatted for a few more hours before Han Huang left respectfully. He quickly left the Dao field after bidding farewell to Xing Hongshen. He told Hanju that he decided to help Han Ling and that he would stay in the Creation Emperor court to cultivate. He knew that his father doted on Han Ling Then, Hanju looked at Han Qing'er, Han Tuo, and Han Yunjin. Han Tuo and the Divine Punishers mixed together and fought everywhere. Han Qing'er and Jiang Jueshe were still in the heavenly court. As for Han Yunjin, he was already one of the sages with the highest status in the heavenly Dao. It was all thanks to Heavenly Venerate Shen Du's care. His descendants had their own future. It was fine as long as they were safe. Shawnee walked into the Taoist temple. Although he was curious, he did not dare to ask about his ancestor. After all, it was an embarrassing loss. He had to give his ancestor face. Seeing that Shawnee had entered a cultivation state, Hanju began to choose to upgrade the function. He had obtained a chance to upgrade one of the system's functions when he reached 100 million years old, but he was a little hesitant. I want to upgrade the primordial heavenly prison. The primordial heavenly prison has begun to upgrade. Hanju's eyelids twitched upon seeing this notification. This thing could be upgraded? It seemed that the ultimate origin heavenly prison was next, but he didn't know how powerful it was. Hanju thought. He was about to continue cultivating when another notification appeared. Detected a person with great connate Providence. Do you want to check his background? It had been a long time. It was no longer connate Providence, but great connate Providence. The meaning was different. Hanju immediately agreed. Yu Yuan, late-stage Grand Unity Golden. Immortal Realm, Chaotic Human Race, 3000 Domination Body, Grand. To a new Providence and Creation. The 3000 Domination Body is one of them. It is born with the power of the 3000 Great Tao and inherits the will of the first chaos. 3000 Domination Body. Grand Primordium Chaos Destiny. Will of the first chaos. These labels looked so impressive. Hanju was secretly vigilant. Could it be that the 9th chaos was preparing to revive the first 8 chaos? Zhao Shuangchuan was the 8th chaos reincarnation. Now, there was another Yu Yuan who was the first chaos inheritor. How strong would he be when the 9 brothers joined forces? It seemed that the 9th chaos also sensed that something was wrong. The Dark Forbidden Lord had delayed his progress in breaking through to the Creator Lord realm, making him feel a sense of danger, so he began to nurture his brothers. Hanju locked onto Yu Yuan's location. He wasn't in the universe of stars, but he was not far from it. Beside Yu Yuan was another person, the 9-headed Divine Spirit. After reincarnating for another 100 million years, the 9-headed Divine Spirit had already returned to the Great Tao Supreme Realm. He was now teaching Yu Yuan. 100 quadrillion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? Continue. Yes, he'll be filled with killing intent. Hanju secretly asked, is the 9th chaos preparing to revive the other 8 chaos? 10 quadrillion years of lifespan will be deducted. Continue? Continue. Yes. Hanju's eyelids twitched. However, Yu Yuan was still very weak. Who knew how long it would take for him to cultivate to the Tao Creator realm, let alone the other chaos that had yet to revive? Interesting. The ninth chaos was about to enter the calamity. In the past, the ninth chaos was extraordinary and would not set up such a trap. However, this also meant that the ninth chaos was panicking. Hanju retracted his gaze and stopped looking at Yu Yuan. He would curse Yu Yuan to death when he was about to threaten him. He began to observe the chaos to see if there was anyone outstanding among his descendants and disciples. 1,000 years later, the primordial heavenly prison has been successfully upgraded and transformed into the ultimate origin heavenly prison. Domineering, unaffected by everything. It would even transform the prisoner into an ultimate origin life form. In other words, subduing a Tao creator and transforming them into an ultimate origin life form would increase the ultimate origin world's providence and increase Hanju's cultivation. In an instant, Hanju suddenly wanted to go out and capture someone. No! He could only imprison one person at a time. This would take too long and would definitely attract unwanted attention. When the Great Tao world reached a certain level, it would be forcefully lured out, so it was impossible for Hanju to hide, unless he hoped that his cultivation level would be like this and never improve. Hanju stopped thinking. He should continue cultivating and strive to break through as soon as possible. He had to reach the Creator Lord realm first. The floating islands gathered like stars decorating the blue sky. In a wooden pagoda-like pavilion, a young man was meditating, absorbing the spirit chi of heaven and earth. On a bench beside him lay an old man. This youth was Yu Yuan. He had a dignified appearance and an extraordinary bearing. The old man was formed by the nine-headed divine spirit and looked extremely ordinary without any immortal chi. Senior, the cultivation technique you taught me is a little strange. Yu Yuan suddenly opened his eyes. The nine-headed divine spirit chuckled. Boundless and profound, right? No! The spirit chi needed for every realm is dozens of times more than ordinary cultivation techniques. Furthermore, this amount will increase as my realm increases. Doesn't that mean that I have to spend more effort than others in the future? Yu Yuan frowned. You're a genius. Isn't that just nice? The harder it is to cultivate, the stronger the cultivation technique. You should understand. But don't think about that chaotic assembly. You can make it in time, but what about after it? The goal you want to break through is not the eternal peak. Could it be that he was too anxious? That's right. I'll wait for a while. When Yu Yuan's potential was displayed and with him here, if the divine might heavenly sage came to deal with Yu Yuan, he would be killed by father. The nine-headed divine spirit's smile became brighter. The only existence who could kill Hanju was his father. Therefore, he had been looking forward to Hanju's arrival. Yu Yuan's identity was a secret. Father had instructed that even other transcendent existences couldn't discover it. His birth in the mortal world was considered top-notch, but it was not worth mentioning in the chaos. He had to rely on a major faction if he wanted to gain a foothold in the chaos, and he liked the emperor's style. The nine-headed divine spirit did not stop him, because he knew that if Yu Yuan wanted to grow up, he had to be independent and not rely on him. He wasn't afraid of Yu Yuan dying. Father had said that he only needed to teach him cultivation and not care about anything else. What did that mean? Yu Yuan was under father's protection. He couldn't die. The nine-headed divine spirit thought silently as he parted ways with Yu Yuan. Yu Yuan came to the chaotic void and looked at the vast void. He was excited. Chaos, I'm here. Creation Emperor Court, I want to see how much stronger the geniuses inside are than me. Yu Yuan thought to himself.